where a construction of an engineered cap over the impoundment is done to minimize the infiltration of rainwater and erosion. And finally, there's something called a hybrid closure, and that's where some of the coal ash may be excavated and put in the landfill, and then there would be an engineered cap on the rest of the impoundment. This month, our agency will hold public meetings around each of the remaining facilities, Marshall being one of them. We're happy to be here tonight to talk with all of you. And though Duke submitted proposed closure options for this site, I want everybody to understand our agency has not made any decision yet on the closure option. With your guidance, we think the decision on the closure option should better reflect your community's specific needs. So we're here tonight to try and answer any questions you may have, but most importantly to get feedback on you on what the most important factors regarding closing this impoundment. Around the room, we have staff from our Division of Waste Management, our Division of Water Resources, and our Division of Energy, Minerals, and Land Resources. These are subject matter experts, and they will be at several different tables around the room. There's going to be a table that has an introduction to closure option, and our Division of Waste Management staff will give an overview of the closure options and potential landfill locations, as well as the design of the landfill and any potential risk associated with that. At our dams table, the Dimmler staff will discuss the impoundment stability and hydraulic capacity and any risk of flooding due to dam failure. At our groundwater table, you will be able to see information on the current conditions of groundwater and the predictive impacts of how groundwater would change over time, depending on the different closure options. Surface water table will focus on the permitting considerations, outfalls. Y'all may have heard the term seeps. These are smaller natural occurring discharges that may carry coal ash contaminants to the surface water. And then finally, a community impact table. And that's where you can discuss safety, traffic, air quality, and other community concerns. And you will, at this table, also get to hear more about specific closure options themselves: cap in place, hybrid closure, and excavation. We want to try and help you understand the science, but most importantly, we want to hear from you and listen to your thoughts and concerns. There are comment cards on the tables, and you can write comments down tonight. You can also take those comment cards and mail them to us. We are taking comments on the closure options through February 15th, and there are little cards that show you, if you want to email your comments, there's a little card that shows you where to send those. As you guys talk with the different staff, we'll also be taking notes, and we'll be sharing that feedback directly with the rest of our staff when we get back to the office tomorrow. I want to talk about what the Coal Ash Management Act says about DEQ's review. And it basically instructs our department to look at whether the closure option is protective of public health, safety and welfare, the environment and natural resources, and otherwise complies with the requirements of the Coal Ash Management Act. So, looking at the guidance, looking at the language in the law, our department will be using the following criteria as we evaluate these closure options that have been put forward. First and foremost, the groundwater considerations. How much contamination is in the groundwater? How large is that groundwater plume? Where is it going? And how long will it take to return the groundwater to meeting the standards of the state? We'll also be looking at surface water impacts, and as we do that, we want to consider that the geographic position of the impoundment. Is it in a floodplain? Is it in a natural drainage way? Is it located in a natural stream drainage way? Is it, what type of surface water is it close to? Obviously here, the impoundment's very close to the lake. What's the proximity to any public water intakes? We'll also be looking at other environmental impacts, such as impacts on air quality. If we're moving coal ash There's lots of truck traffic. What will be the impact on air quality? We'll consider impacts on vegetation, wildlife, and wildlife habitat. And as we move to think about public health, safety, and welfare, that's where community impacts especially come into play, and understanding the concerns you may have related to the impoundments, to truck traffic, off-site disposal of coal ash, and whether there are any environmental justice concerns. So again, we're guided, that criteria is guided by what is in the session law. I want to remind you that we'll take any comments on these closure options by February 15th. Following that, we will complete our review of the closure options for each of the 6 sites, including Marshall, by April 1st of this year. Duke Energy will then be required to submit a final closure plan by August 1st of 2019. We will do a technical review, and then we will hold official public comment periods, and you guys will have an opportunity to stand up and talk about your perspective on that final closure plan. And we will take into consideration those comments before the department takes any final action on the closure plan. Your voice is incredibly important to this process, and again, it's just great to see so many people here tonight, and we look forward to talking with you as we go through this evening. I'll be here all evening, but we will, at this point, adjourn and let you guys go to each of the tables.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, look at the crowd.
We have a show of hands about how many people think that we should have the cap in place, the hybrid, or the total excavation.
We can certainly do an audience poll. So I will first ask those who believe that excavation would be the best option for the impoundment at Marshall. So those who believe excavation. Okay. Next question. Those who believe a hybrid, some combination of excavation with an engineered cap. Anyone believe that a hybrid is a good option?
Nope.
And finally, those who believe that a cap in place is the right option. I appreciate y'all participating in that conversation. Thank you for that. At this time, I will ask that you guys begin to make your way to the...
No! Change the format! Change the format! Have them talk to us from where you are standing. It's too small. This is too many people on the table.
would like to tell you all about, so I'm going to hand the microphone to her. Hey everyone,
I only had 100 cards to pass out, so. Is this better?
Now,
Okay. Is this better? No. No. Okay. Go to change.org and do a search for clean up coal ash on Lake Norman. Sign the petition. We have over 12,000 signatures, and we're hoping for a lot more. That's all I wanted to say.
thank you. Yay!
Change.org and search for clean up coal ash on Lake Norman. And that's it. That's not for my determination. This is a whole process. So I'm just a girl making a petition to get the word out. I'll make an update. But right now, what's on there are the signatures and news articles. That's about it. Just take a look at it and see for yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Somebody wants to hear about excavation. Why isn't that representative standing in front of the group?
They've got several. Well, all I have is what, but that's identical to what SCLC is
right there on the water, and I see it every day. And I always.
I don't know. Green bulb digging in it.
Because we have so many people, we're going to try and do a question and answer session. We are going to have one of our public information officers on this side of the gym and one on this side, and we'll have you line up and we'll alternate one side to the other.
I think it is. How much is there, I think yeah.
Actually undergoing a cleanup process. So that's being said, if a cleanup process was something that was decided in the state of Virginia and the state of South Carolina, then why would a cleanup process not be the only solution for us citizens here in the state of South Carolina?
Thank you for that question, and I think that the reality is the Virginia announcement has been relatively recent. That's something that North Carolina is certainly looking at. I think for right now we have our Coal Ash Management Act, and that state law is guiding how we're proceeding with determining how to close these impoundments. If someone said change it, that really is up to the General Assembly to make changes to the Coal Ash Management Act.
Okay, well, I think that everybody's voices have been very clearly heard here tonight. And I want to say I thank you for putting together this location and for allowing the public to come in and make comments. However, as a taxpaying citizen and a mother of 2 small children and a resident of our Lake Norman community, and hearing that most of the public here tonight, all in an unanimous pretty much decision that we need to excavate the coal ash, my question to you is why are we not acting sooner?
I will get to your question in just just a moment, but we have two vehicles that need to be moved. They're blocking in someone. The first is a silver Elantra. The tag is BOD 5409. And the other is a silver SUV WUL 9721. With the community majority saying excavate now, I think that the bottom line is we are working through the process that is laid out in the law. So keep in mind we are trying to, as a state agency, trying to follow what is in the law and work through this process. But I understand the frustration and the wanting to move quickly. So thank you for that question.
My name is Barry Duckworth, and I have a 10-part question. It seems to be pretty pervasive that we want the complete. The other thing is, when do you plan to stop burning coal and convert this into natural gas or possibly a solar farm? And my follow-up question is, does Duke Energy intend to pay for this?
So, in terms of the converting to natural gas and solar farm, clearly that is something that Duke has been looking at and has made some of those conversions at other parts of the state. I'm not aware that they are looking to convert Marshall at this time, but I will take that question back. And your second question is, will Duke pay for this? That will actually be guided by the North Carolina Utilities Commission. There will be rate cases as we go forward in time, and Duke will put forward what they think they should be compensated for in this process, and that will be up to the North Carolina Utilities Commission to decide.
Hi, my name is Jerry Kingsley. You mentioned converting not just to solar power, but to natural gas. I just want to make a comment that that's no cleaner. Have you done any studies to determine what the environmental impact of these natural gas facilities would be, as opposed to solar or wind or something that's 100% renewable?
Another good question. I think the reality is anytime that fossil fuel is being burned, there will be more of certain types of emissions like nitrogen oxides and other compounds, whereas with a solar or wind, there's obviously, with no burning of fossil fuels, you're going to have a lower emissions as well as less greenhouse gas emissions. Thank you for that question.
Hi, I'm Victoria Eves. I live on Lake Norman, all the way on the other side, down High School Road, okay, but facing Queens Landing. And I have seen a map that indicates that an entire pool of water in our area is polluted. I've been living there for 15 years. I've never been able to drink our own water. I go and drive to Concord for all of our water that we use for cooking and drinking and even to feed the cats for 15 years. And my friend and neighbor, his 17-year-old daughter has got thyroid cancer, and she looks like she's going down. Okay? So who's going to pay for that? I'd like to know. And I just think you need to take it seriously because it's all the way across to the other side of the lake.
Thank you for that comment, ma'am, and just rest assured we are taking this question very seriously. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. And that is one that I will take back to our Department of Health and Human Services.
Is there an elected official for the state of North Carolina here? Because they should be standing right next to you.
I'm not sure if we have any elected officials at the moment.
Someone over here, I think, said that we're in this room. So it'd be great if they presented themselves. We do. I think we need to be front and present because this is just as much your problem as it is Ours. We're all.
Speak up! We cannot hear you back here. Give someone the microphone so the rest of us can hear what's going on.
My name is Priscilla Sunday. I'm a resident of Mooresville, and I know that this past year we had more water than ever. As far as future weather predictions, do you all ever talk to any of the meteorological folks to try to figure out in regard to whether we're going to do the complete removal or some of your capping ideas? Because if we even have more water than what we've had, I mean, nothing's fail-proof. And I mean, the things are leaking now into the lake. They've been leaking for years. Everybody's known about it for a long time. So does anybody go back and try to do any future predictions and take that into consideration as far as the fact that we need the complete removal?
That's a good question. In terms of, I'm not sure that the rainfall is necessarily factored into the groundwater modeling, but I will try and get that answer for you.
Somebody get a job in.
Hi, my name is Trey Boucher. I'm a resident of Cornelius, and I'm a longtime advocate for environmental issues in the Carolinas. And one of my concerns is what was being mentioned up here earlier, is that the elected representatives that make decisions don't show always to these meetings. And I would guess, and my question to you is, are Duke Energy representatives at this meeting? Are you aware? And how are they getting this information? And how are they, I know you can't say how they're reacting to the information, but how are they getting the information from meetings like this?
And I have not seen Duke Energy officials here tonight. There may be. It's a large crowd.
No, I just want to
Duke Energy is a large company, and I don't know everyone who works there. In terms of how not only Duke Energy but others will get feedback from these meetings, we are documenting conversations that we're having. We're also taking all the comments that are provided, like on the comment sheets and so forth. That will all be made available as part of our process. And so we'll put all the comments received throughout this process on the DEQ website as we go forward.
Hello, my name is Keith Wine. We live off McCreary Creek. A couple things are happening in this area. We have DOT getting ready for the expansion of 150. That means construction of new bridges. We have a 51-acre development that's getting ready to happen at the boathouse. My question is this, is the fact that we hear excavation, but we really don't know what that entails. Can you have one of your engineers talk about the details of what it's going to take to get this excavated? You've heard everybody say, hey, we'd like to have it done. It's one thing to say the words, but what are the details behind what's actually going to take place so people have a better understanding? I'd like to hear both the pros and cons of that, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Ed Musseler. I'm with the Division of Waste Management, the Solid Waste Section. You bring up a good point. These are, regardless of what happens, massive projects. I believe this impoundment's over 250 acres in size and somewhere north of 16 million tons of waste in it. By comparison, we only generated 14 million tons of municipal solid waste in North Carolina last year at all. So it's a multi-stage process. First thing you have to do is you have to dewater it, okay, because the ash wants to hold on to water. It's very thixotropic. If you've ever stirred your hand in beach sand, it goes from solid to liquid. That happens on a coal ash pond if you're not careful. So you've got to do that, and they do that a variety of ways. Then that material has to be removed, which takes excavators, and then it has to go somewhere, whether that's on-site or off-site, okay, which would involve a truck, okay, and it may have to be picked up from here, put over here so it dries enough so that it can go over here, and then it can go into its final resting place. Those are all concerns you would have to, if you can imagine, 16 million tons. Now you have to have some sort of containment area, landfill or whatever. You've taken, obviously, it out, and it'll go up somewhere. Hopefully, it doesn't go off-site. That's what's happening from Asheville. It's being driven to Georgia. From Wilmington, it was shipped by rail to Chatham County.
That's your opinion. That wasn't our opinion here tonight. I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Thank you. So, regardless, look at it this way. If you've got 16 million tons and you can only drive 20 tons down the road at the time in a truck, okay, and it takes about 3 minutes to load a truck, you can do the math. So, it is a massive project under any circumstance, but particularly in that one. Then it has to be, in all of that, you've got to handle the stormwater, you've got to handle the discharges to the lake. And it can be done. Anything can be done. But you're talking about, dozens and dozens of pieces of big yellow iron, big trucks, excavators, stuff on site, working, and it would take, they can probably move safely without, down in Wilmington, they're moving 140, 150,000 tons a month into their landfill. So again, that's where we are in those types of things. Does that help? Okay, thank you.
How many years is that?
I'm sorry?
How many years is that?
What's that translate to?
Years, decades.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll get the answer for that. We calculated that if you were to pick it up, move it 20 tons at the time. But you figure,
How about the train car?
4.5 years. 4.5 years.
It's a little more than 4.5 years. But 160,000 train cars, okay? There's what? Okay. I'm sorry, at the plant? I do not off the top of my head. The current generation is going, either being recycled or turned into the landfill. I'm sorry? There's still some going into the pond, but that ends this year. Okay, after this year, no more liquid discharges in North Carolina. But the fly ash and the flue gas desulfurization has been going to the landfill as dry for several years now.
Hello, my name is Michael Lindsay. I'm a resident of Mooresville. I live out here near the 150 bridge. My question is regarding the cap and place approach. As part of your assessment, is there any study, impact, analysis around what happens if the cap in place and it proves to fail in some way, shape, or form, right? Through seepage, excessive seepage, or what have you. Is in assessing the cost and impact of cap in place, are you considering the cost of remediating that solution 4, 5, or 6 years later because it's proved insufficient?
That's an excellent question. I would say that based on the cost estimates I've seen, I don't believe the failure of the cap in place has been factored into that scenario. But that's a good question. But that's a good question. It's something we need to take out.
My name is John Ong, and my comments are very simple. My name is John Ong, and my comments tonight are very simple and direct. The first is that the Department of Environmental Control or Quality Control's mission is to protect the natural resources of the state and the health of the people in it. Given that, and the fact that we all know, and science is clear, that unlined pits pose a danger, I would ask that the department and the rest of the state government step up to protect our health and safety. And the second point I want to make is cost is not a factor. Duke Energy is a profit-making machine and can step up and pay for its own.
I just had a kind of a technical question. I was going through the documents in the past couple weeks. How would the cap cap-in-place scenario meet the federal CCR rules as an unmined landfill with area below the water table?
That's absolutely something we're looking at right now. Sorry?
Are you going to answer any question that is posed, or just let us know that we're giving you good questions?
We are very much still in the review process, so the purpose of tonight was to hear what concerns you have so that we make sure we are considering that as we complete our review process. So the questions we can't answer, we will, and others that we need to take back and think about, then I'll be saying that.
Hi, my name's Jill Feldmeyer, and I live across the street from the Marshall Steam Plant on Kaiser Island, and it terrifies me that I live there, and I don't know if I should sell my house, get out now while I can, or what we should do, but I'm terrified because we're all on wells, and I guarantee you for sure that stuff is leaking into our wells. It's across the street. So this is just something I wanted to read to the community. And one was thanks so much to Norman Koch, who after this lake is named, if you guys did not know that, 55 years ago, we organize lake cleanups every year. We have picked up over 100,000 tons of trash out of the lake. So we're doing our part. It's time that you guys do your part and keep that lake clean, because we're doing it and we've got to protect it, and this is where we live.
This isn't really much of a question. It's more of a statement. I know earlier someone mentioned about natural gas. I would like to confirm that subsidy of Duke Energy Piedmont Natural Gas is going to be running a pipeline into the Sherrilsford area. It will be a major pipeline ranging between 38 inches and 42 inches in diameter. I know this because they are taking our property for the second time, using advantage of the people who live here, and it's just a mess, to be quite honest. That's all I have to say. Just so the community knows that there is natural gas coming. So who knows if that pipeline might explode, or the integrity of that pipeline, given Duke Energy's past history.
Hi, my name is Dave Shelton. I live in Denver. I'm a little concerned about the answer to the question about excavation, because it wasn't contrasted at all to CAP and some of the other things. Some of these other questions mention that. But yes, they're all big projects, and to characterize excavation as near impossible, I think is unfair, personally. And the second point I want to make is, in Japan, they had a nuclear accident. This isn't nuclear, I get it. Fukushima. The Japanese are known for very good engineering, very careful, very precise, and they thought they accounted for everything. There's no way that plant could ever fail. Never. And it failed. So anything but excavation, to me, is short of an answer.
Hey, my name is Frank Holloman. I'm at the Southern Environmental Law Center, and we have worked with the Catawba Riverkeeper to try to get this site cleaned up and excavated to safe dry line storage. I just want to point out a few facts about excavation that were not mentioned. Duke Energy has coal ash in North Carolina, Indiana, and South Carolina, among other places. In South Carolina, Duke Energy is being required to excavate every site where it stores coal ash in the state of North and South Carolina. In Indiana, the Indiana State Agency has recently sent Duke Energy a letter instructing Duke Energy that it cannot leave coal ash sitting in groundwater at any site it plans to close in the state of Indiana. and under the federal CCR rule and Indiana law. And I guess my question, one question I have, in my mind, a rhetorical question, is why is North Carolina different from India? The people of North Carolina not entitled to the same protection as the people of India? So the second thing I would point out is it would point out that this lagoon is a large one. It has been a big mistake, 16 million tons. But I will tell you that Georgia Power on its own, without even having the state of Georgia to have to tell it to do it, last year announced it was excavating a 21 million ton site, which is almost, somebody else can do better math than I can from Seneca High School, but it's about a third or 20% more. The Wilmington site that was described is approximately half as big as this site, and Duke Energy was required by statute to do that in 5 years. What we know is the sooner you get started, the sooner you'll finish. However, and the final point I want to make is what is never mentioned is the fact that cap in place requires a lot of trucking too, because they have to bring all that soil from off-site into the facility. We have an information sheet, and if you read it at the bottom, you would see that this ash can be stored on-site, so there won't be off-site trucking impact, and that there will be a 7% increase for the duration of cap in place in truck traffic on community roads, where excavation would only have 4%. So I guess what I'm saying is, what you need to do is listen to everything skeptically. We have found out, when we started this, Duke Energy and DEQ said not one site in North Carolina would be excavated. And now 8 of 14 have been excavated, not because of what the state did, not because of what Duke did, but because communities like this took action and made it happen.
Sonny Hoffman, Redneck Hollywood News. I'd like to ask you a question, miss. Who is John Galt?
That's all. Thank you.
My name is Terry Gibbs. I live on Island Point Road, the very end of it. They are currently dumping ash in the excavated site off of Island Point Road. My question is that ash coming from the Marshall Steam Plant pond? Does anybody know? They physically bring it in every day.
No, that's the production ash that's coming out of the plant today, going into the lined landfill. That is.
So that's where it goes instead of going into the pond.
That's correct. There is also, without knowing exactly what we're talking about, there is about 10 acres that is being excavated because they are putting in stormwater holding ponds. It's possible that it's that, but it's going into a lined landfill, whether it's coming out of that 10 acres or whether it's coming from the plant.
Will the coal ash from the pond be dumped on that site off of Island Point Road?
That's one proposed place. It's certainly not big enough, so it'll have to be expanded, and they're looking at other locations on the property. So it would be on the property. They have, a lot of property. Could be there, could be somewhere else.
How many stories high will that cap be when it's finished?
I don't know. I could envision it being in excess of 100, 150 feet easily.
It's getting there.
Yep. The lined landfill is well over a mile from the lake. It's all the way at the north end of the pond.
Hi, my name's Jane Schaefer, and I live in Mooresville, North Carolina, new to North Carolina. And first I want to thank you for changing the format in response to all the complaints. I think that's great. Thank you. I was one of the complainants. Anyway, the public health implications of the coal ash, particularly in Mooresville, when we look at thyroid cancer in 2 zip codes, the only reason we really know about it is because of a mother whose daughter had thyroid cancer. And I say that you need to be more proactive with the health implications of these pollutants. It's terrible. We need to be more proactive. And the other thing is that we are only as strong to a certain extent as our elected officials. And I would suggest that everybody become best friends with their elected official, because that's how we change things in the long term. I mean, we do things as a community in the short term, but we really need to make a difference. And I am shocked there are not elected officials here. That is a disgrace.
Vicky Sawyer, U.S. Senator. Vicky Sawyer, U.S. Senator.
We have one elected official. That's great. I'm glad you're here too. Who's the other one? There. And is that Becky over there? Yeah, from Mooresville. That's right. Yes. Can you tell me?
There are a number of things that are going on in Iredell County, in particular, that you.
Who are you? I want to vote for you.
My name is John Fraley. I'm in the North Carolina House and represent District 95, which is southern Iredell County and covers Mooresville. When all of the information started coming forth, and I do compliment Ms. Susan Wynn on getting it done. There is a group of all of your locally elected officials that include Senator Sawyer, myself, Mayor Atkins from Mooresville, Iredell County Commissioners, Iredell County Health Department, that are all working on this together. Through Ms. Wynn, Duke University is involved in looking at studies here. We also have UNC Healthcare is involved. There will be information that comes out within, I think, the next couple of weeks. We are just finalizing this of testing that Virginia Tech is going to be doing throughout Iredell County on well water and groundwater within the county. So there's also testing that has gone on with private labs and also state labs. And the results have been compared back and forth without any discernible difference between the test results on that. So please understand that there is a lot of activity going on with people that are arm's length from all of this transaction. I also think that there was one question that I'll try to touch on a couple things that were asked. Someone asked if Duke Energy is here. It's my understanding that Duke Energy is not invited to meetings like this. Rightly or wrongly, that's just my understanding. I'd also tell you that Duke Energy have been working, Ms. Wynn as Abner Rogosh, who is also looking at coal ash issues as it relates to this area and around North Carolina. Duke Energy is also supplying him with samples to do his individual testing and analysis on that. So there's a lot of activity that's going on. I also think as it relates to talking about going to total excavation and also the Coal Ash Management Act that's in place now. My understanding, I started serving in the House in 2015, and that act legislation was passed at that time, and my understanding is that that was the first type activity of trying to deal with this type of an issue in the United States. There were a lot of people that you had assumptions that people thought were the right way to go, that as we've gone through different excavation projects or cap-in-place projects, practices that people thought were going to be the right thing to do have turned out to be the wrong thing. There have been things that people thought were wrong that actually ended up being the right thing to do. So there's a lot of learning that is going on in this entire process. The other thing you have to consider as it relates to the Marshall Steam Plant. We talked about this as a huge complex. I think someone said 250 acres. A lot of that is currently forested over land at this point. Well, if you're going to excavate it, you're going to have to totally deforest that, as I understand.
That's what we'll do if we have to, right? Cut the trees down, get it out.
Listen, we're trying to have a civilized meeting here. So
Civilized, all you do is keep talking around the corner here.
So you also have to take into consideration things like that if you're going to go in and take all of the forest out where there's wildlife, then you have to start excavating, which then exposes ash back to water and air. What are the ramifications of that? So it's a very complex issue. I would came here tonight, as did Senator Sawyer, that this is something that's very important to all of us. We wanted to hear what everyone has to say, and I think we've gotten a good feel for people's it's a very complex and difficult problem. The amount of cost that's involved really is not a discussion. What we are trying to figure out is what are causing the health problems in 28117 and 28115. We're doing extensive testing on all of that. And as I said, it's with independent parties where results are being looked at arm's length. I must say also we're working closely with DEQ and DHHS on this, and everyone is working on this matter together. So to think that we're not involved and not concerned, I would say that that's a mistake.
Why is North Carolina moving so slowly when other states around us are taking care of their citizens?
I'm going to tell you that I was not aware of those facts that have come out tonight. Personally, not aware.
They've been in the news.
I can only tell you what I'm aware of. And we need to ask that question. I don't know the answer, and I'm not going to sit here and try to speculate.
You're in the legislature. You should know that answer.
You know, you're probably right, but if I knew everything I was supposed to know when I was down there, they'd be interested.
This is a big thing to know.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is a very big thing. We wouldn't be spending as much time on it as we are if it wasn't important.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for this outpouring of support. My name is Vicki Sawyer. I was appointed to be in the Senate August 2nd, and I met Susan Wynn about 4 months before that, right, Susan? So since that time, sitting beside her in a coffee shop, I've been trying to be her champion in the General Assembly. So and I'll tell you why, not only because I respect her and her opinions and what she's done and how she's raised money and how she's fighting for not only her daughter, but all of our daughters, but selfishly, I have a small house on Lake Norman. And when I walk out back at night, I can hear the coal train stuffing coal. That's how close I am. I'm also a mother of 2 daughters. And I've had both of my daughters checked, okay? Checked for thyroid cancer. I've had people come to my house crying because they think that their health is hurt. And every day I live, breathe, and feel about Kalash. So I think the most wonderful thing I heard tonight is your questions. I think the most painful thing I heard tonight is that us elected officials don't care. We have been fighting and representing you from day one. I have not made a lot of friends in the Department of Environmental Quality, but I'm glad they continue to take my call. Masking them in this grand veil of evil is unfair because we need to hear what they say. But we also listen to them, but we're grateful for Virginia Tech. They have come in and chosen our area, and they are going to use their resources to test our water. And they're going to do a great job for us. It will. So thank you. I'm sorry, some of these things, and the reason, thank you, that has just came out like a couple days ago. We were right. You might repeat it. Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's a good question. Let's go back. The Virginia Tech thing, we were very excited that they were going to open their resources to our community. They reached out to us because they are studying this statewide and maybe even the Southeast. So their whole goal is to A, educate us as citizens, right? B, give us free water sample. And then also they will have individual meetings with each homeowner to discuss their health risks. That is a gift that we were given, and we are very grateful for that. And that will be rolled out. So to your question, facilitator of that, and you will see that coming out in paper. I'll make sure to post it onto my Senate Facebook page and let you all know that you're aware. At this time, it is with Iredell County. To say that I'm concerned and think about this as an understatement, guys, when I talk about that little house that I live on in Lake Norman, it's behind Lake Norman High School. So what does that mean? I have 40,000 tons of beneficial fill, they call it beneficial fill, it cracks me up. Beneficial fill less than 2,000 feet away from my drinking well. Again, when I called the DEQ, I didn't earn any friends that day. So what I will say is Iredell County Health Department has been my biggest champion. And they have reached out to my neighbors, and we started spot testing our wells around that area. We are verified that with the state and independent lab. Now those results are higher than some of the camera ratings, but it's not scary. It's not without the norm. So that's when we're lucky to have Virginia Tech come in and broaden that up. So I know that I wish I could give you answers, but the only thing I can tell you is that I am here. I am fighting for you every day. I'm fighting for my children's health as well as yours, and we will not stop until we get the correct answer. And yes, I am very happy to ask Duke Energy to excavate and get this out of here. But we have to be, this meeting was not, so any of these people here, they don't have that decision, they don't have that power, they don't have that ability to change that. But what they can do, and what I'm taking notes now, is hearing what you're saying, so that if I'm asking Duke Energy to remove, that I can make sure I take your voice to those meetings. So that's what I meant when I said I wanted to hear and listen. So stop letting me as a politician talk, or your representative. Ma'am, please continue to hear your comments.
What can we do to help you?
Yes, that's what I want to know. We're all writing our names down. Who's going to take count of how many thousands of names were here and that we care? Like, how does our vote counts for you, but who's taking count of all this to know what we want? We want excavation. How many names do you need for that to happen?
So the question is, which is a very good question, because I know that the feeling in the room is excavation, and you spent time, I talked to a lady over there just earlier, and she had left at work an hour early just to get here. So how do we make sure that effort is transformed into results? There is a form, if you guys will see it, multiple forms. Make sure you signed in and have your concern. And then from there, the DEQ takes that back, and you have to respond and present that, correct?
Right. All the comments that we receive throughout this process will be part of the public record as we go forward, and that'll be put on the website as well as part of the decision that we make going forward.
There's comment sheets on the tables, and there's also email addresses for each individual segment.
Can you please comment about the air?
see was an acceptable level. Second question. Air. We began and focused on water, so that's why you're hearing all about water. But one of the biggest fears and the reasons why I haven't talked about it is we don't know if there is a common agent in the air that's making, if there's a correlation, we don't know. So our next step after this, we feel like we got a hurdle stepped over this Virginia Tech thing. Now we want to move into those areas. And how do we move into that? That's our next goal. So I'm sorry, I have no answer for that. But that is absolutely, air is a concern and soil is a concern, right? So we know that, and we're trying to get there.
Our food's being grown in it. I mean,
Okay, so
it's
question is, and then these people have been standing in line, so it's okay, because it's not fair for them to sit and do that, okay. But you can stand in the back line if you want, okay, okay. Yes, you know, agriculture is number one in Iredell County, right? A lot of it's dairy, and a lot of it's north of the lake. So you know.
Just wanted to make sure everyone is aware. This isn't just...
I'm sorry, dear?
It's air.
Okay, so can we ask these, is there any, can we, oh yes, okay, so what you can do to help my efforts. So I just am one voice, and even though I'm one voice of 50 that represents 10 million, my voice is not very powerful without yours behind me, very simply. My LA is going to not like me tomorrow morning, so but I would say that feel free to always email my office in Raleigh. Feel free to contact me on Facebook, although that's the slowest way. Please sign up letters from my office. And I will try to be the best communicator for you guys that I can be. Because actually I'm here because I'm one of you.
Who's blocking you? That's what I want to know.
Nobody yet. I'll be honest with you. Nobody's really been blocking me yet. I know that, you know, when you're from, because I'm like a conspiracy theorist, like most of us Republicans are. So let me tell you. So I'm right there with you. So I was thinking, man, it's going to be this person or this guy or this person's behind the door. And truthfully, it's not. Now, what I will tell you that's blocking me is just bureaucracy. It's just plain old bureaucracy. The left hand doesn't talk to the right hand's not underfunded, and guess what? The feet are in play too. So yes, I think my biggest and our biggest hurdle has been bureaucracy, but I'm going to tell you, John Fraley has been the lead on this, and he's gotten a lot of groups together to talk. And although it is not perfect, we are not perfect. I strive every day, and I fail every day for that perfection in life. We're trying our hardest. And I promise you, and I'll make that promise, I will try my hardest for as long as I'm here. Thank you.
I don't have a question. I'm Dr. Mike Miltek. I'm Mayor for Tampa Cornelius. I'm a retired physician. I used to operate on thyroid cancer. What else you can do is you have friends that live across this state, convince them of this problem, and have them contact their legislators to join forces with these two to get enough votes to get things moved through legislature. Same for the toll project.
Hello, my name is Bob Vandola. I have recently moved from out of state to Terrell, and a lot of this information is extremely disturbing to learn about. Two things that disturb me particularly is in talking with your staff at one of the tables, the choice that everybody here has expressed, or most everybody here has expressed in terms of excavation. It's, I guess, staff opinion or DEQ's opinion that is not possible within the CAMA regulations because of the time frame it would take to do that. So are you being disingenuous in saying that is a possibility, and why can't it be done within that time frame? The second thing that disturbs me is the handout that you provided. It says a spill at Marshall would flood Lake Norman, many homes, and even highways with coal ash. I asked the dam experts here, who should be familiar with this particular coal ash dam, about its integrity and just how much rise in water level would occur to actually flood highways and homes. He can't answer. I'm concerned that could happen. If that dam broke, everybody that lives within this zone has just completely lost their home value. So how do we get those answers, and why can't the excavation route, based on your staff's opinion, be possible?
So let me be clear that all three options are on the table and are available under the coal ash